every one of you guys for coming out to support me in this book project, which is entitled The Irony of Affliction. And the subtitle is How I Survived When My Son Went to Jail. This is a self-help, self-directive book. Each chapter has a little bit of experiences on things that I experienced as it relates to dealing with some of the common afflictions to some of us and uncommon afflictions to all of us, to other of us. As we know, affliction don't just come in one form. Afflictions come in various forms. It could be afflictions of the loss of a job, loss of a loved one, deciding to relocate to another state. It could be some unexpected turns that life took when you answered the phone and the person on the other line gave you some news that was not so good, or it can be you unexpectedly got a promotion and don't know how to deal with that promotion. So today is my book signing. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out, for those that support me near and far. And for far and foremost, I want to thank God who gave me the inspiration to not for the event, but who's overseeing the event, but gave me the inspiration to write. And he did use a person that kind of challenged me. One of my mentors challenged me to sit down, fast, pray, and start writing. And that's exactly what I did. So today is an opportunity just to kind of talk about the book. I will be reading a few chapters of the book and will allow some questions and some explanations as to how I derived at that particular chapter. So, my first reading of today from the book of The Irony of Affliction is going to be taken from chapter 1. And I will be reading the first few sentences in the first paragraph as it relates to chapter 1. The title of chapter 1 is Don't Answer the Phone. It was Saturday morning around 8 a.m., March the 12th, 2022. I woke up to a phone call from Delta Community Credit Union. This is Delta Community Credit Union Fraud Protection Department. If this is Phyllis Smith or someone you authorize to make purchases, press 1. Press 1 if you made an authorization of $25 purchase of gas from Gary, Indiana. Immediately, I knew Tyler, my son, was in Illinois without my permission, so I pressed 1. Once I authorized all the transactions, I began to pray and ask God to protect and keep my 17-year-old son. I called his phone several times, all of which went to voicemail. Michelle, my sister, came to my house to hang out every weekend since my mom died. I told her about the phone call and that I knew Tyler was in Illinois. She asked several questions about Tyler's call last night, asking for $100 while in Athens with friends. Tyler called me during Mr. Serves and my regular Friday evening get together with our friends, playing cards, eating, drinking, and just hanging out. I called Robert, Tyler's father, my second ex-husband. Good morning, Robert. Do you know where our son is at? Robert replied, yes, he's in Athens with his friends. That's why he needed his allowance. I'll give it back to you after work. I told him about the phone call from Delta Community Credit Union. Robert instantly became very upset and started screaming and cursing in fear for his son.
That's for real.
He has always gone from 0 to 100 in seconds concerning Tyler. Robert has worshiped Tyler along with his other biological child, Robert Jr., who was 18 when we married. Robert joined me in adopting my 2 baby cousins. However, it was not a secret that Tyler was his only child in our marriage. That is a brief reading from chapter 1, Don't Answer the Phone.
And I relived that, I mean, it was so real, man.
Yeah.
It was like it was happening. I can remember that when that happened, man. I was all calm and relaxed. And when I told her Kennedy was in Athens with some friends, because he had called me, and like Phyllis said, he he had it from heart. I believe what a person tells me until I find out they're not telling the truth. And when he told me, I believe what our son said. And Phyllis told me that, man, she's right. I went from 0 to 100. Yeah, I remember.
They're in trouble. Their first thought is, let me call my mom. Let me get to my mom. She's gonna help me. She's gonna help me figure this out. Opposed to my mom's gonna kill me, or my mom's gonna be upset or whatever. So I say that to ask, like, do you feel like that? Do you feel like that you've always created a safe environment for your children to come to you and be able to ask you for things and be able to call you? You be the first phone call when they're in trouble.
I think since I am a mother of 5, I definitely know that I created different environments for each one of them separately. And Tyler being my last child, and being Robert's last child, and us being slightly older when he was born opposed to the other children, I think we created, I'll say me, I did create I don't know if it was, to be honest with you, I don't know if you would consider it a safe environment more so than an acceptance environment, because he was the last child. So pretty much of all the things that he, most of what Tyler asked for in situations that he asked was always a yes. It was a little backlash behind it, but it was a yes. It was, I'm not, stop going over there, or I'm not going to come right now. But to answer your question, I don't believe it was more of a safe environment to come to me for any and everything, more so than it was an allowance environment. Just, yes, environment. If I had not put a chapter in there about my experience with incarceration. So I will be reading from chapter 2. It is entitled, I've Been Here Before. Generational curses are a repeat of the sins and failures of our forefathers. Generational curse breaking is when you making the conscious decision to stop practicing, absorbing, and passing on toxic behaviors and personality traits. That was written from my thoughts, from the author. There is a trigger warning in this chapter that I will not read, because others that have purchased the book will have to read it. I don't want to read that in open public, but it is very tough to know that I experienced being the sister and the daughter of a horrific crime that took place in my family that caused one of my siblings to be incarcerated. But I will read this part right here that I think is very crucial. While this is not a book on mental illness, I would be remiss not to include this information. According to American Council Association, the Black community is less likely to have access to mental health services, less likely to seek out services, less likely to receive needed care, more likely to receive poor quality of care, more likely to end services prematurely. I told myself, okay, this was not what I expected, but it's nothing that we can't handle. I've worked in my parenting to prevent this with my children. Unfortunately, some forces in society will find you and your children. I was raised around the commonality of seeing family members going to jail. I had uncles and brothers in and out of jail for various reasons. I remember being a teenager going to visit my uncle in jail. I wrote letters, sent pictures, and some of my babysitting money to them. Fast forward into my adulthood, my family had to deal with the unforeseen, unthinkable action of my brother with mental illness.
I think even with adults, sometimes you do something and you get into some trouble and you're embarrassed about it. You don't want nobody to find out, and you think you're gonna be able to cover it up. So you don't want to tell anybody. You want to try to take care of it yourself, and that's a big lesson in itself, because when you have a community around you that can help you out, you gotta put the pride aside and get the help that you need.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
How did this happen? What was going on in my life? Or I thought I did this right, or I thought I did that right. And particularly as you get a certain age, you have the opportunity to look back and, growing up, oh, I'm not gonna be like this person. I'm not gonna be like that person. Most times it's our parents. I'm not gonna be like my mom. I'm not gonna be like my dad. So growing up for me, that played a very, very, very crucial role in my decisions growing up, because I did grow up in a family that had its issues and somewhat, some people would say a little bit more dysfunction than other families, but we all know that all families have their issues. But I did go through another introspect as to what did I do to not be able to overcome this situation. I had several uncles and brothers that had experienced incarceration as I was growing up. So that definitely was something that I had made vow that none of my children would experience. So I tried to do everything I can do to put those things in place. Put them in sports, built a village around them. Church was very, very crucial from the time they was old enough to go outside. I remember my oldest, Kendra, who is now 34 years old, being born, and I was getting ready to take her to church after being 2 weeks old, and her father and my mother was like, she's too young to go to church right now. And my thing was, no, she's too young not to go to church. She's too old not to go to church, and that's where we were at. So from the time that I can remember, that definitely was a crucial part in on it. But as we now know that I was not able to escape 3 generations of experiencing incarceration as a mother. My grandmother experienced it, my mother experienced it, and now here I am experiencing having one of your children being incarcerated.
So coming up, I was taught, man, be hard, keep your feelings to yourself. You don't let nobody see you cry. But I have to say, that woman sitting there, my time with her, she's been a good person. She used to talk all the time about that. I used to listen to it. She might not have thought I was listening, but I was listening. And when this happened with our son, first thing I did, like she said, a few days I was mad, violent. I didn't want nobody to say nothing to me. First thing I think about, as a boy, boxing, hitting somebody, knocking somebody out. So at that point, I heard Phyllis' voice say, you need to go and get help. And so I went through the job and I started talking to a therapist. And the therapist really helped me out through that. And that's why I tell people now, man, when you're feeling that way, don't deal with it by yourself. Go and talk